And we are back on this November 12th, 2012 Monday edition of InfoWars Nightly News. And one of our favorite and extremely informative guests, Gerald Celente, is back with us. I had him on election night, and, of course, he called Obama correctly, from Dublin, Ireland. What an amazing interview we had. It was so good, I re-aired it on the radio on the Sunday afternoon show, and my family, my children, sure enjoyed listening to all the great people there in Ireland cheering. We were driving around Austin during the rebroadcast. But unfortunately, we don't have good news today with Gerald Celente and his lawyer being on with us. They're having to sue Google, and he has filed that suit. And the Business Insider broke the news a few days ago. I just learned of it last night when Rob Dew called me about it. And so we're going to kind of flesh this out and give you more details of how Google, and I've had this happen to me too, will let people kind of operate as if they're you. And it causes just amazing problems. And, of course, the Attorney General of Texas has been suing Google, and other attorney generals have, for people that advertise with Google, giving them preferential top links, even above the real group or business or organization themselves. So that's why I personally have had a lot of problems. And behind the scenes, I don't know, for 4 or 5 months, I talk to Gerald every few weeks before he comes on the radio, or sometimes off air. I've gotten to know him, meeting him up in New York a few times. And so we're friends, and he's pulled his hair out saying there are people out there that operate like they're me, saying things, and then I basically get the blame for it. Well, yeah, I've had that happen to me as well, or people edit what I say. It's a big problem. The Internet's a double-edged sword. It's a great way to empower people, but it's also a vehicle that can cause a lot of problems when groups like Google that say that they want to be the Internet basically are unresponsive. And I think that's one of the biggest issues here. You know, talking to Gerald off air, is he's having to sue them just to get their attention. I mean, he's certainly not a litigious person. And, of course, Gerald Celente doesn't need any introduction here. Diane Finguera, his prestigious intellectual property lawyer, is, of course, the person honchoing the suit, and he joins us now from Kingston, New York, via video Skype. His lawyer will be joining us here in a few minutes, is joining us via phone. Now, correct me if anything's wrong. I was just kind of giving a basic boil down there, Gerald, and then break down exactly why you've been forced to do this as we also show the viewers out there your lawsuit, your complaint.
Well, what's going on, Alex, are people taking out blog spots in my name: Gerald Celente Channel, Gerald Celente Blog Spot, Gerald Celente Channel.blogspot, on and on. And Google, we've contacted Google several times. We have, our attorneys have, writing cogent letters expressing the concern that these imposters, pretenders, are using my name. And what they're doing is, as you well know, I'm internationally renowned for my work as a trend forecaster. So people hear me and they Google up Gerald Celente blog. So they see the first thing pops up, a Gerald Celente blog, and they go to it thinking it's me. And what they do is they put up all of this information that has nothing to do with what I believe, say, or recommend. And what they do is they get tons of advertising because I'm so popular. So Google profits from it because of its AdSense and its pay-per-click. So we've contacted Google, and we've notified them personally and through my attorney several times that we have imposters that are taking my name to drive people to their sites. The Google blogger team has to either be a bunch of morons, they don't care, or they're just interested in getting the money. Because each time that either I contact them or my attorneys contact them, they send back these inane letters that have nothing to do with imposters or trademark infringement. Gerald Celente is a trademark. I'm also covered by the Lanham Act because of my popularity over the years. But every time we contact them, it's like you contacted a municipality to complain about a parking ticket. Now, I just want to mention that on the other side of the coin, When we contact Facebook to take imposter sites down, they take them down promptly and they take them down effectively. But I have to wonder, either, again, the Google people are too stupid to know the, quote, Google, the blogger team, or they don't care, or they're making too much money off me, or the morons don't know what the definition of imposter is, because imposter is a pretender. Now, also, Alex, to underline all this, Google has an imposter policy. But it's an imposter that they have an imposter policy because they refuse to enforce it. So now what's going on? These people are posting things, for example. I mean, you know me, we know each other a long time. They have guys, morons up there spouting out anti-Semitic, anti-Catholic, anti-Christian, anti-Islamic statements, such as, I'm sure you knew about this, Alex, because if you went to the Gerald Celente channel, you would see some jerk spouting off that Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Pope and the Vatican are in concert with each other to start a Christian-Muslim war. Now, when you go onto this site, what do they have on the top of it? Trends and forecasts. What's my name of my business? The TrendsResearchInstitute. What are some of my trademarks? TrendsJournal, Trends Alert, world leader in trend forecasting. Why shouldn't this be me? If you go into a store that says Neiman Marcus and you walk in and they're selling a bunch of crap, you think Neiman Marcus is selling crap. Well, the Google crapsters are allowing imposters to sell Gerald Celente while they're selling crap, fraud, and insightful, life-threatening information. And regardless of all of the tens of thousands of dollars I've already spent on legal fees, despite all the time that we have taken contacting Google, the best that they can do is to send some flunky, inane, insulting letter back to us saying, we have no control over the content being put on the sites. This isn't about content, moron. It's about imposters. And you ostensibly have an imposter policy, and it's an imposter that you even have such a policy, because you're destroying my life to make a couple of bucks to keep your stock up. Is that it, Google?
Well, expanding on this, Gerald, I personally have had a lot of people on Facebook pose as imposters and then call for killings of people to try to get me in trouble. And I've had people buy into it. And I had to get a hold of Facebook about 1.5 years ago and send them my driver's license, my proof. I'm not saying Facebook's great either with their pump and dump, but they even had people call us back and then verify that our official channel was our official channel. And I know Google through YouTube has systems to try to verify things now. But I do think it's about advertising, because the Texas lawsuit, but also the federal lawsuits that are going on, I was showing it on screen earlier, and perhaps your lawyer, who we'll bring in a moment, can elaborate on this. And so it's not just beat up Google time. This is a real problem, that they give not just preferential treatment to imposters and take money from them, but they put them on top. So it's imposters that are getting preferential placement. They say they're you. You even have trademarks and copyrights. And then they go out, and then Google doesn't ever stop. And then courts keep ruling on behalf of Google because it's come out. And I was the one that broke this 8 years ago with a CIA analyst who went public, that really Google was set up 13 years ago by the NSA and CIA. So that's why there's some lawsuits and a few attorney generals at state levels who do the right thing. It's a quasi-government private partnership, and I think that's why you're going to find they can play by rules that nobody else can. But you know, also Google claims their algorithm is about traffic. Well, we're not the top link most of the time with Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com or Alex Jones. They'll put Wikipedia up there that's got my middle name spelled wrong and all this negative, baloney. But yeah, there it is, law.com. Any partnership between Google and NSA can remain secret because it's national security, U.S. Court of Appeals held. And of course, they've got, government aircraft and government bases at NASA. So that's the problem, Gerald. They're more than happy to set the precedent that Google gets to play by rules that nobody else can. Why does Facebook, why do all these other big sites have ways to fix this pretty quickly? And why doesn't Google? I think that's the key here. Elaborate on that, and let's go to your lawyer.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like you said, Facebook got in touch with you. We contacted Facebook last week. Another imposter site went up. And by the way, what happens is they put these, videos of me, on your show and many others, and then you hit the link and it goes back to the imposter site. And then they put up false statements about what I said. Like, I've said this hundreds of times, thousands of times. I don't give financial advice, and I don't tell people where to buy gold. But Gerald Celente said you could buy gold at, fakegold.com. We're terrific, and Celente supports us. Facebook took it down like that. And you're 100% right. Some little clown out there who's ripping me off and making a lot of money off me, his ranking gets above mine. Because Google's making money in AdSense and with their pay-per-click. So I should be up #1 considering, the amount of, like yourself, the amount of people that follow us. But no, Google puts the AdSense.
Yeah, let me explain this. If you look at the sites that are in your exhibit, I did some of this. During my radio show, during the breaks, I checked a few. They don't even hardly show up in the rankings of, say, Alexa.com, that's run by Amazon.com. That's a really good sampling, because we can put it by Google Analytics and see that Alexa.com is showing exactly what Google's showing with their internal systems. To not be so technical, the point here is that your site in Alexa.com is way above these sites that you're being forced to sue along with Google, but they're still putting these other imposters on top of you because they've installed Google AdSense and are making money with Google. And that's where the antitrust suits come in. Again, people say, well, just don't use Google. Well, Google says they are the internet. They've got government backing. Their goal is to be the internet. They claim they're giving impartial results. But the truth is they aren't just allowing you to lose money that should be going to you to run your operation and build it. Again, they are able to misrepresent who you really are, and that's the real danger here. Introduce your lawyer to us here, Gerald.
Yes, this is Diane Finguera, and she is an international trademark and copyright expert and also an IT expert. And we retained her a few months ago after going through a number of attorneys, by the way. And what I would find is, as I'm talking to attorneys, that this is really new territory. But when I spoke with Diane, she was really on top of it. And I feel very confident and feel very...
Yes, let's bring her up. Diane, again, new territory for some lawyers, but what you're doing now, correct me if I'm wrong, is at the heart of what the federal government and other attorney generals are doing. They're saying and suing for antitrust over exactly what Gerald's complaint is stating, the lawsuit. Can you elaborate on anything we've said that's incorrect or add anything to it?
No, I mean, I can't really speak to the antitrust cases, but I can talk to, Gerald's lawsuit and everything that he said so far about, the motivation for bringing this lawsuit is spot on. Google does, the blogger does have a policy, and the policy, says, please don't mislead or confuse readers by pretending to be someone else or pretending to represent an organization when you don't. We're not saying you can't publish parody or satire, just avoid content that is likely to mislead readers about your true identity. Then they go on to sort of explain, how you can report an infringement, and they put their users on notice that if you violate our policies, we have the right to disable the access to your site and to take down your blog. So, Gerald did all of that, and they, to no avail, and that's what sort of, baffling from a legal perspective because, if you have a policy, you can avoid being liable for contributory trademark infringement by enforcing your policy. But you can't skirt liability by just having a policy.
Quantify that for me. I mean, is it not the
be used?
Mm-hmm.
So, had Google, just taken down these blogs when they were reported through the policy, the whole lawsuit could have been avoided. And that's what I think Gerald finds frustrating, and that's what, I find frustrating as well.
Absolutely. Interjecting here, I think you're alluding to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA takedown.
I'm alluding to the blogger policy that you can get from the Google website when you go to blogs. And on the bottom, there's a click for...
Sure, but just to be clear, I mean, if you talk about DMCA...
And that's where you'll find what the internal blogger policy is. So this isn't a copyright case, which would kick in what you were referring to, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. This is a trademark case.
No, I understand that, but I just want to quiz you because you're an expert in this. Reading the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, all of it, it's supposed to give Google or Infowars.com, we have a social network, planetinfowars.com, it's supposed to give me the protection I need to let third parties come on and have their own blogs, their own radio shows, their own information, so that if they do something wrong, I get notified, my policies comply with the third-party issues so that I can then act accordingly and pull their information down. And so what you're saying is basically it's in the same territory that, yeah, their policy is in accordance with copyright and trademark and all the rest of this, but they're not enforcing it even after being warned over and over again.
Yeah, that's true, except that I wouldn't even give them that much credit because the blogger policy doesn't even address trademarks. It addresses copyright, and it addresses impersonation, and a couple of other things like crude content and violence, but it doesn't even address trademark. So, their policy, while they have one, isn't as complete as it should be. But what they do have that applies to us, they're not enforcing.
Interesting. I want to come back to you in a moment, but I want to ask Gerald this before I forget. Gerald, I know that you told me 3-4 months ago when you were pulling your hair out on this that you didn't just contact Google over and over again. You contacted the people that are in your exhibit. And, what did they say when you said, I'm going to sue you?
We didn't even say we're going to sue you. We said, take it down. And they started cursing and screaming at us and telling us to basically go F ourselves. And all the others that we said as well, because they're with impunity. Google leaves them alone, and as you well pointed out, they give them high ranking. Just to put this into context, Blogger was owned by a company called Blogger, and Google just bought Blogger last April. Here's a quote from Google after they bought Blogger. This is from the Google themselves. They said, Google admitted, quote, truth is, we're still figuring a lot of it out. Guess what? They still haven't figured it out. This is 1.5 years later. They have a clear stated policy. The policy says they do not permit imposters. What does it take? Does it not take a Philadelphia lawyer to know what the word imposter means? It means pretender. As I said, if you go into a store that has a big sign on it that says Neiman Marcus, and you go in there and it's selling crap, it's an imposter. Google is facilitating the imposters. They're renting out the space so that the phonies could put Gerald Celente on it and sell crap. So to me, Google is as responsible as the imposters. And Alex, you know what's happened to me over the last year. That SOB, John the Slime Corzine, stole my money, 6 figures, going in from MF Global, going in and stealing my money out of my segregated account. What did the United States Attorney General do? Eric Holder? Oh, Eric Holder The same came from the same white shoe firm that represents MF Global. He didn't do anything. What are people doing in Google when I get ripped off? Nothing. The word justice is being misspelled. It's J-U-S-T-U-S. Just us. I work like you do. I work tirelessly to perform at the best level I can and to put out the best information that I'm capable of coming up with. And what do I get for it? I have people stealing it, stealing my reputation, robbing my business, and people like John the Slime Corzine stealing my money. And what am I supposed to do about it? Do you think Diane's firm comes cheaply? I'm spending a fortune on trying to stop this from happening only because these SOBs are robbing the public at every level, and there's no one there to stop them. And that's why I'm speaking out. I've had it.
Well said. Going back to Diane, Diane, you're hearing all of this and the problems that it's causing Gerald. I mean, this is really creepy that people can go on there, say they're somebody else, and get away with it for years, and that Google won't do anything. I mean, I know you're just a lawyer going off the facts here, but what do you think's happening here? And hopefully, what are you looking for from the courts with this lawsuit?
Well, it is unfortunate that we had to sue. And that's really what the problem here is, that it just shouldn't be. It should just be that Google operates the way Twitter operates and Facebook operates and eBay operates, where you have these large service providers that are giving a platform for, for third parties and users to just post, to use their, as a means to reach consumers. But they do it responsibly, where they have policies in place where brand owners and famous people can or just anyone can let them know, hey, I'm being impersonated, hey, my trademark is being infringed, and all these other social networks have mechanisms to deal with it. Google has a policy for the impersonation. They should just enforce it. So I think that what we're hoping for here, for these blogs to get taken down, from the bloggers to be permanently restrained from the unauthorized use of Mr. Celente's image, from his photograph, from his trademark, and then another terms that we can hopefully arrive at either in a settlement or attorney's fees by court order. But I think the goal here is to get this stuff down now, and to make sure there are mechanisms in place that if it happens again in the future, you don't need to file literally a federal lawsuit to get a policy enforced.
Sure. Well, here's the problem. I mean, historically, constitutionally, copyright, trademark, it seems like a no-brainer that if you've been running a restaurant for 20 years, it's got a name, everybody trusts it, somebody can't open one across the street with the same name and then say they're you, and start telling everybody in the town that they're Gerald Celente or they're Alex Jones. I've had a lot of this go on myself. I'm just so busy that usually I just ignore it, but I understand it's become a problem. I remember about a year or two ago, we decided to get on eBay, but there were all these people on there selling copies of my films for like 50 cents a piece, which then people would get it and it'd be blank, it'd be crud. And I contacted the people and said, please stop, and they didn't stop. It was a bunch of them. Some of them did. So I went to eBay, boom. We had to prove we were who we said we were, boom, gone. One day, and now we have a burgeoning operation on eBay, helps fund our free speech and what we're doing. So, yeah, eBay, Twitter,
that's
Facebook.
Right, Alex. I mean, in fact, eBay is the leading kind of precedent. There was a really big case a couple of years ago in New York brought by Tiffany's, and Tiffany's wanted to hold them liable for contributory trademark infringement because they were sort of taking a position that eBay had an affirmative duty to seek out the counterfeit goods themselves once they were on notice that certain sellers sold the goods. And the court said, that burden does not fall on eBay. It falls on you, brand owner, but as long as Google's got these policies that are in place that they enforce to take down infringements once they are alerted to it, they can't be held contributory
Oh my
liable.
gosh, I totally forgot.
That's what the weakness here is with Google, is that, you know, Tiffany versus eBay sort of set the standard as to how, you know, these media social networking sites can be protected, and the standard is have a policy and enforce it. And the fact that Google's not enforcing it, I believe, exposes them to liability under Tiffany versus eBay, as well as some precedent that's come out of the Ninth Circuit.
Wow. By the way, expanding on that, because this is such a fascinating discussion, it's not just about Gerald being victimized here. Clearly, it's about the integrity of the internet, and which has now become the biggest marketplace. It's bigger than brick and mortar, I've seen in the latest statistics. We crossed that Rubicon about a year ago. About 2 years ago, we were selling the Obama deception, and we had set up a Google online store, and we got noticed. We even did an article about it. If the guys can find it, I forget the exact headline, something like Google bans InfoWars online store. And they gave us a letter saying your account's suspended. You can't have any of these items because it's hateful to have a film called The Obama Deception, which, by the way, stars, as you'd say, Gerald Celente. And it has nothing to do with his race. It's saying Obama's going to shaft you just like Bush. It's actually, you know, bipartisan criticism. And as an award-winning film, seen more than 40 million times free online. But there we were daring to sell DVDs, and they told us we couldn't have the website because of that. So they also selectively enforce. They've been caught kicking people off who aren't big advertisers with them. So they're really cutthroat. The reason they're able to take over the market, from my own experience, you know, I'm saying we're not picking on Google. No, they're picking on us. Gerald Celente, anything else you'd like to add on this? And then your lawyer. Now I'm going to spend about 10 minutes with you then on some other news issues.
Yes, the other issue is that Diane had sent a law firm and other law firms that I've retained prior to hers letters to Google's general counsel. You know, and we tried every way possible to avoid this. And every time that they respond with an insulting, inane letter from, quote, the Google blogger team. And they never address the issue of imposter.
Or
and
infringement.
Excuse me?
I said, or trademark infringement. And I think you're being generous by calling it a letter. They send these, like, two-sentence emails to us.
Why are they so arrogant? Let me ask you about this. Why are they so arrogant? Is it the NSA, CIA being involved in their founding?
I don't even think it's that. I just think they don't care. They're making, I don't know, we'll find out. As I said, you know, the only things that I could come up with is they don't care, they're too arrogant, they're making too much money off AdSense with all these people having fake blogs up and tons of advertisements, tons of them rolling through all the time. Or the Google blogger team, as they said a year ago, is that we're still trying to figure it out, and maybe the cats can't pick up a dictionary and figure out what the word imposter is. But I want to make this really clear. Before an attorney writes a letter and sends it to Google, there's hours and hours of work that go into it. So they write a very detailed letter with case studies, all the examples of infringement, costing a lot of money and a lot of time. It goes to the general counsel, and then they send you back, as Diane said, this insulting two-paragraph form letter that addresses none of the issues. So what is it that allows Google to stand up above us all, ruin my reputation and others? And by the way, as you point out, this isn't only about me. This is about all of the other tens of thousands of people that are getting ripped off by imposters that are making money off other people's blood, sweat, and toil.
Well, you're absolutely right. And again, I'm not a litigious person. I know you're not a litigious person. And we've got all this extreme copyright and trademark infringement going on, you know, where McDonald's, 60 Minutes reported over a decade ago, sued the McDonald family. You had the McDonald Castle. For 400 years, they'd had a pub there, serving food and stuff. And of course, last time I checked, McDonald's lost the case. Or you've got, people that put up a Disney character on the wall at a daycare center that they bought, and and then Disney sues them. I mean, you've got these extreme wild cases, and then you've got stuff where people are saying they're you. I mean, because that's one thing. I mean, it goes beyond this. It's now a defamation, slander, libel, if you want to call it.
Alex, the harm that it's caused me, you have no idea. The letters that we get, the emails, how could I say such things? I had respect for you. I no longer have it. And, of course, people are going to these blogs, and it's also hurting my business because they think that piece of crap is me.
Oh, no. People everywhere say that I said things I didn't, or they edited together. But again, over time, people figure it out. It's just so many people are just now getting into politics and are kind of children. Going back to Diane in closing, and I'm going to hit a few items with you. Gerald and I have been jumping in, ma'am. We appreciate your time and what you've done. In 3 or 4 minutes, other points you'd like to add that are pertinent to this case?
No, I mean, honestly, I think Alex and Gerald, you guys really have covered it quite well. I think that, at this point, we have to go to court to sort of restrain the bloggers. And then I'm, hoping that maybe once we actually have a person to speak with it, a representative from Google, I'm kind of excited now that Google is going to have to get a lawyer that I can talk with. And, this is the type of case that we shouldn't have to litigate, and I think that it's a type of case that we should settle, and if we can't settle it, I'm very confident that, like I said, the cases in the Second Circuit in New York are very favorable for us. And then there's a really great case that came out of the Ninth Circuit that I think that we can use as persuasive reasoning here. And I think we've got an extremely strong case. So it's in Google's interest to not have this litigation go forward. But if it does, this will be a precedent-setting case. I'm hopeful that, in both ends, that either we can settle this on terms that are acceptable to us, and if not, then I'm looking forward to getting a decision by the courts.
Said, again, I really appreciate you spending time with us, and we'll track this as it unfolds, and I hope that Gerald can get justice. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Well,